Good evening, everyone. This is H&N. The Holotable News Network is you're not even remotely close to around-the-clock Star Wars, Galaxy of Heroes, news, reactions, reviews, theory crafting, and more source. I'm Celiac Sarah, one of your co-hosts, and today we are joined by my co-host, Pico Burrito. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. I feel like we just had a whole bunch of news thrown at us again.
Yeah, I think we're getting a little spoiled that we actually have like content week over week, and we're not going to have to like create anything interesting or new from that standpoint.
Right?
So
Yeah,
a lot of words to go over today.
it's yeah. I was expecting like just a content update today.
Yeah,
Like just something small.
that's not what we got. We got a lot, and there's uh we'll get into some of this, but we got a couple of new omicrons.
Yeah.
I think they were unexpected. Um, in fact, both of them again. I think we're going to see how big, how important territory battles is. But I didn't even read territory battles when I saw them. I just assumed territory wars because that's what we've been seeing so much. So it's an interest. There's a lot in this update. So
Yeah. So, okay, so Cassian got his. I think everyone kind of speculated, or most people were speculating, that his would drop when the Andor show dropped.
yep,
So he's getting his. The one I didn't see coming was Gamgard.
yeah, yeah. I didn't see that one either. And I honestly was of the opinion that we were not going to get an update for Gamgard because we haven't seen it yet.
Right.
That one really kind of threw me for a curveball. And, we were talking yesterday, and we'll get into all the Jabba stuff today, or in a bit. But we were kind of playing out what we thought the kit was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I now question whether we have to throw all that conversation out, and we need to kind of look at a couple of different things. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so we have that. We've got the Omicrons for both of them, which, spoiler, they're both territory battle Omicrons.
Yep.
And then they did like a weird post about the Datacrons today that we can kind of gloss over. But where do you want to start? Do you want to start with
I think we got to start with Java. I think that's the biggest kind of kit piece that we got.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get into, I think we talked about it recently, but the new format that they're using for doing updates
Mm-hmm.
is awesome.
Yeah,
It's got
with everything
picture,
in one.
yeah. It's got the picture, it's got the dev insights, and then it's got all the details underneath, and then it rolls right into the feedback thread as well. So it's just a one-stop shop for kind of looking at everything. So I think that's great. But I'm gonna take a crack at reading one of these kits for the first time. I'm gonna see
Yeah.
how hard it is to do this in front of a virtual group of people. But so Jabba the Hutt, he is a galactic legend, dark side, bounty hunter, smuggler, support, and shockingly Hutt cartel.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is what we were gonna, we expected to see from this. No kind of surprise tags or anything. The synergy suggestions, Kerstanton, Boosh, Skiffguard Lando, and then they're saying Boba Fett, Gamgard, and Mob Enforcer. I think the first three, hands down, are going to be a lock for the kit. I think they're built for that. And I think as we get into this, I think one of the complexities with the kit is there's a lot buried in the other characters pieces
Mm-hmm.
that we'll try and kind of pull out tonight. A couple of those that makes that like that four core piece kind of work for the team. And then Gamgard I think is going to be great. I think Mob Enforcer is really interesting on that team. Boba Fett, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that fifth slot is going to be the interchangeable one.
Yeah. And we were talking yesterday a little bit. A lot of it's going to come down to, and we'll see this in the kit, is what game mode you're using them in. Like it's everybody's on the table in PvP, but as we get into, at least for the short term with territory battles, you're locked into dark side. So what's that going to look like from that piece? The one interesting note on the image is both Boosh and Skiffguard Lando are red outlines around their portrait.
That is interesting because they're not dark side.
Yeah. Now leave it to CG to miss a detail. That's not surprising. So
Mm-hmm.
so let's jump into this. So basic, illicit business. It's a Zeta. So there's a Zeta on everything, and there are no omicrons in the kit. So I think that was to be expected. That kind of is in line with the rest of the Galactic Legends.
Yeah.
And so final text: call other weakest Hutt cartel ally to assist, dealing 10% more damage for each active Hutt cartel ally. So again, you're going to want to get the weakest ally. It's probably going to be one of your attackers. Bounty hunter and smuggler allies gain protection up for 10% for 2 turns. So, and then the next one is, or the next piece is, during Jabba's turn, he inflicts blind on the target enemy, gains 6% ultimate charge, and the weakest Hutt cartel ally recovers 30% protection. Hutt cartel allies gain protection up 30% for 2 turns. So,
okay.
So the 2 things that point out that kind of come up right away. I didn't see anything else in the kit where you could call Jabba to assist.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember the other kits now from Chrysanthemum and them, if they have a call to assist, because that's how this is reading. Like he does one half if he's assisting and the other half if it's his turn.
I guess, I mean, in theory, and we got the question, like, what's the best kit? And someone's like, it's an R9 Bosk, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I guess in theory, if it was under a Bosk lead, or if Bosk was on the team and he would do his call to assist, that would cause the weakest ally to attack twice in that chain, which could be really interesting with like a Fennec or something. But again, it is, and we'll talk. I do want to point out, we're going to go through this kit. If you have not got a chance to go out to Reddit, there is a post called "Near as I Can Tell, Jabba the Hutt's Kit" by. This was posted by someone called Near as I Can Tell, that does a short or a summary of the kit. Go read it; it's absolutely hysterical. Mm-hmm. But as he repeatedly points out, you're going to use Hutt, you're going to use Bounty Hunter, you're going to use Smuggler as much as possible, and if you're not, you're a dummy.
Yeah.
So we want that as much as possible, especially the Hutt cartel piece. So that's his basic, pretty straightforward, nothing that exciting on it. A lot of protection recovery, which is great. But that's, hey, it's not too bad. It's a decent basic reading right there.
It's straightforward. I mean, the thing that I'm okay, now I'm gonna confuse myself. Because if you have a full Hutt cartel squad, you're gonna deal 50% more damage because you've got 5 of them.
Yep.
But I guess you're only doing that if if Jabba's assisting, or.
So no. So in all cases, if Jabba has to use his basic, in all cases, the weakest ally is going to attack and is going to deal 50% more damage on that attack, whether it's an assist or whether Jabba calls it. What happened? The piece for Jabba on Jabba's turn, lined on basic, which again is pretty great because we don't get to see that a lot, and then that's when the ultimate charge happens in that case as well. So that would have to be. He's only going to get the ultimate charge on his turn.
Okay.
And we'll talk about the ultimate when we get there. I don't know how he's going to get enough. This doesn't seem like it's got a great way to charge the ultimate in it, although I think I'm always wrong on these things anyway. So it's, it feels like it's going to take forever. But again, we'll get into that. So. The next special 1, Crime Lord, is cooldown of 4 turns. Final text: dispel all debuffs on allies and inflict speed down for 2 turns on all enemies. So get rid of our debuffs, slow them down. Other Bounty Hunter, Hutt Cartel, and Smuggler allies gain Hired Muscle for 2 turns. Hired Muscle is plus 30 tenacity, immune to Daze and Fear. That's pretty big.
Yeah.
Hired Muscle provides a different benefit based on the character's role. Attackers once per turn, when another ally uses an ability, assist dealing 70% damage. Tanks are immune to critical hits. Healers and support on attack, allies recover 10% health and protection. So attackers do more damage, tanks take less damage, healers and support heal a little bit of damage.
Right.
And then, so that's gonna happen, and that's for 2 turns. At the end of 2 turns, depending on the faction that they're associated with, they're going to get a different buff. So bounty hunters will get defense penetration up for 2 turns. Smugglers get speed up for 2 turns. And then Hutt Cartel will gain advantage for 2 turns.
So I did like read this or skimmed it yesterday when it came out. I completely missed this for whatever reason when I read it. I read it as when they expired, it was attackers, tanks, healers again. I didn't realize it was the factions, so that's interesting.
So for BK, Boosh, and Lando, they will get all 3 of the buffs.
Yeah, because they're all
they're all 3. So that's why stacking up those 3 factions are going to be so critical, and that's where like that 5th spot. There isn't anybody that goes into the 5th spot, I think, that fills all of those. Because it's not CAD and Embo are not smugglers, and Gamguard and Mob Enforcer are not bounty hunters.
Right.
So that 5th spot is a little wonky right now. So again, not too crazy there. Get rid of debuffs on the team, slow everybody down. Mm-hmm. Get some cool buffs that are associated with it. I don't think that tank buff helps BK much at all because he's immune to critical kit hits and his kit as it is, I think, depending on where he's at with a couple of pieces. So
that's not really gonna be awesome for him.
But again, I think overall it's a pretty decent ability. 4-turn cooldown, so it's basically at the midpoint of your cooldown cycle. You're gonna get all those extra buffs. Special 2, Crumb's Revenge. So this is the cool little thing where Slithers B. Crumb kind of throws the detonator out. As I saw somewhere else, like I'm pretty sure this is not lore accurate. I don't believe he did this in the movie. But final text, he's going to dispel all buffs. He will deal special damage, inflict buff immunity on target enemy for 2 turns, which can't be dispelled. That's huge.
That is huge.
Your tank is no longer taunting.
Like, and this is only a cooldown of 3.
Yes, it's a 3-turn cooldown.
Like,
so and then it's inflict thermal detonator on all enemies for 2 turns. Inflict an additional thermal detonator on all enemies for 2 turns for every 20% ultimate charge the Hutt or Jabba the Hutt has. Whenever a thermal detonator from this ability expires, all bounty hunter, Hutt Cartel, and smuggler allies gain 2% mastery until the end of the encounter. This ability can't be resisted.
So they're magic detonators.
They are magic detonators. And so there, this is, I think this is like the first piece of becomes really interesting what you do with your turns, because we'll see that there's a mechanic coming up for hired muscle that you probably want to get that out early. Mm-hmm. But we're going to see in a second that getting thermal detonators out is going to be the most important thing that you can do for the purpose of kind of getting his contract and getting everything else running. So it's a question. I think we're going to have to figure out what's going to be the best turn order there. I mean, he's absolutely going to go first in most cases. I don't know what I didn't see what his speed is, but I mean, outside of Galactic Legends, he's going to go first. So, General Kenobi, you no longer are taunting. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what that turns into from that side. I mean, there's Lord Vader still is a problem because they've got the mark that kind of cycles in off of the backside of that. But it's also really interesting with ultimate charge. So in theory, that's 6 thermal detonators. Yeah. And then if they go off on everyone, there's some ungodly number of mastery that's going to pile up on top of that as well. So it could be pretty ugly, and we'll see. And keep in mind with Bush's kit, one of her 2 specials detonates all thermal detonators, mm-hmm. and then replaces them all.
Yeah, so
on top of that,
there's just going to be so many detonators out there in general.
Yep.
Savatar was just saying in chat, he has the same base speed as Sith Eternal.
Okay.
So, decent.
Yep. I mean, they're all going to go first.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right. Okay, folks. hold on. This is where
This
this is
is,
where it gets interesting.
this is so long.
All right. So leader, his high exaltedness. Final text. Man, I'm gonna need a break in the middle of this.
Mm-hmm.
Bounty hunter, Hutt cartel, and smuggler allies have 30 speed, 30% mastery, and 30% max health. They are tanky with this.
Mm-hmm.
Damage Hutt cartel allies, so damage Hutt cartel allies receive is decreased by 30%. So I'm giving you 30% more hit points. You're taking 30% less damage.
Right.
At the start of battle, other Hutt cartel allies gain a stack of my kind of scum for each bounty hunter, Hutt cartel, smuggler ally until the end of the battle, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. Jabba the Hutt is immune to taunt effects and can't be targeted while an ally with my kind of scum is present.
So I assume, is this gonna be like Vader, where he's an Empire and a Sith, so it counts twice?
That's the way that I read this, and that should be so for the three core ones that come in there, they're going to get all three.
Mm-hmm.
And then so that should count as three. Now this is they get a stack of my kind of scum for each bounty hunter, Hutt cartel, and smuggler ally at the battle. So it's not per ally, it's per individual characters would get up to three, correct?
I get, yeah. For
No.
each.
No, so this is where
Yeah, this is where it gets confusing.
so in theory you'll have 4 characters that will have 3 each.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's allies, so Jabba shouldn't count. So in theory you should be at 11 stacks of my kind of scum, because you get 3 for BK,
Yeah.
3 for Boosh,
Yep.
3 for
Skiff.
Scando, and then like 2 for Mob Enforcer.
Right. Okay, yeah, so you should be at 11.
11. Between
Right.
your Canadian math and my American education system, I think we figured that out. I think we've got that at the right place.
Yeah, because you couldn't get to 12 because there isn't a fourth
Right.
one that hits all 3.
Yep.
And Jabba doesn't count.
Correct.
Right, so you should be at 11.
So and all we have at this point are stacks. We don't know what these fun little stacks do yet, because everybody else is just going to get, again, there's just a base 30 plus 30 speed,
Mm-hmm.
30% mastery, 30% max health. So we'll talk about the again, it's buried in this wall of text about what the my kind of scum actually does. Outside of it, just Jabba can't be taunted. He's going to ignore that, and
Mm-hmm.
which means he's going to call assist on this as well for kind of whatever target that we need to get that to. So now Jabba gains 3% ultimate charge whenever an ally with my kind of scum starts their turn or uses a special ability. If an ally with my kind of scum defeats an enemy, Jabba gains 6% ultimate charge. So faster the team runs, the faster we're charging ultimate on that side.
Right, exactly.
Okay, this is insane. While enemies are inflicted with thermal detonator, their health and protection recovery effects are reduced by 50%.
That is insane.
So, what does he do at basically his first turn? If he can throw a thermal detonator out, all right, it's locked in. And his second special is unresistible thermal detonators.
Right.
So you just shut down healing.
Well, and then like you were saying earlier, when Boosh detonates them, she's going to put them all back out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So It doesn't matter if it's her turn.
So, all right, now again, we're not done.
Okay.
At the start of each encounter after the first,
Mm-hmm.
at the start of each encounter after the first, bounty hunter, Hutt cartel, and smuggler allies gain critical damage up, damage immunity, offense up for 2 turns, which
Mm-hmm.
can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented.
Mm-hmm. So this line screams territory battles.
Absolutely. Yep.
Like, I mean, I guess also like assault battles, but territory battles.
It also this is a really interesting comment around raids as well, because you've got the Boosh raid Omicron,
Right.
and that is on her unique. It's not on her leader.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think that this starts to become like, I wonder if this is solo H pit,
Oh.
because we'll see something other interesting piece coming in with this, and as we get further down into War and Peace. So all right. I lost my place. There's so many words here. So when Jabba the Hutt is in the leader slot, the following contract is active. While buffed with my kind of scum, deal damage with an attack to enemies with thermal detonators 20 times.
Mm-hmm.
Enemies must be debuffed with thermal detonators before the start of an attack to count progress. And it's only Bounty Hunter, Hutt Cartel, and Smugglers that can contribute to that. So how do you read this?
So everyone except Jabba deals damage to enemies that already have detonators. You do it 20 times.
So do you read this as, if I hit it with a basic, that counts? Or do you read it as the damage has to come from thermal detonators?
Oh, I read it as if I hit with a basic, that's what counts.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how I read it as well, which I think this is why someone like Mob Enforcer that double taps on basic becomes really important. Like, characters that can get more than one attack in are going to be really great, because you're going to want to pile those up. And this is also where I think there's a question of, does Boba Fett make sense? Because he's got an AE, which means he gets 5 right off the bat.
Right.
Like that's where I think that it's going to be interesting to see where we land with that best one. Or like Embo, I think his ability sets are, he's got a chance to attack multiple times, and he's got, I think, like, you throw the shield, or you do the kick and it fills up turn meter, and then you throw the shield again, so like you get back to back. So there's a lot there. It'll be interesting to see how fast we can get the contract paid out, because as we get into the contract, what Jabba gets out of it, it's pretty impressive there as well. So the other kind of clause to this is, during raids, the contract is fulfilled immediately at the start of battle.
Which is crazy. So you go into the battle and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Contract's done, you get your payout.
Yep. And if you look at the Omni for Boosh, and I'm by no means advocating an Omni on Boosh right now, but it kind of blows up the second that she gets her contract as well, because I think she basically can just keep throwing out detonators over and over and over again. So, so yeah. Now, the reward. All bounty hunters have their payouts activated, and all bounty hunter, Hutt Cartel, and Smuggler allies gain 25% defense penetration, offense, and potency, which means all those thermal detonators are sticking now.
Yeah.
And allies with my kind of scum have 55% mastery for each stack and recover 20% protection at the start of their turn.
So you have, theoretically, 550% mastery.
Yes. Yeah. And oh, by the way, Scando right now, his base physical damage is the 4th highest in the game. It's 10 points off a Slicker.
That's insane.
So he's gonna hit like a truck.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
It's gonna be a little sick with some of the big numbers that pop up there. So all right, so that was his leader, and he's going to be the leader. That's the. I mean,
that's the thing.
There's a silly comment in here coming up in this next unique that I don't to that point, but we'll see. So unique 1, the illustrious. At the start of each encounter, Hutt Cartel allies have their cooldowns reset. That's pretty nice. Bounty hunter, Hutts, and smugglers are revived and recover 60% health and protection.
At the start
there's your territory. Yep.
Yeah.
There's your territory battle.
Yeah.
That's also great in raids. Again, we'll see what happens with the Rancor on that point, but that's so Finn needed an Omni to do that.
Right.
On his kit. This is just part of a Zeta on a Galactic Legend.
It's just there.
Yeah.
They did clarify in, I don't know if it was in this post up top at the questions or somewhere else, in Territory Wars, if you defeat like part of the team and then go back in for round 2, they won't revive.
Yep.
So this is like a PvE thing only.
And that's pretty consistent with any of the other kind of revive tactics. That once something's dead and the fight is over, they're gone. It's out of it. Otherwise, again, I don't think Malgus would ever die as part of that if they didn't have some of those pieces in place. But so now we have Jabba the Hutt ignores taunt during his turn.
Mm-hmm.
At the start of his turn, he dispels stealth from all enemies. Mm-hmm. Whenever a Hutt cartel ally is stunned, it's dispelled and they gain offense up for 2 turns. So just don't use stuns. I mean, that's the don't waste your time. Yeah. You're not bad batching Echo into tech with this team by any means whatsoever to try and control that. Mm-hmm. If Jabba the Hutt is not in the allied leader slot, allies can't gain bonus turn meter. He's going to be in the leader slot, so there must be some weird interaction they found about that. If Jabba the Hutt is in the allied leader slot, whenever an enemy with less than 100% turn meter gains bonus turn meter, Hutt cartel allies gain 7% turn meter, limit once per turn. Whenever a Hutt cartel ally loses turn meter, they gain bonus protection, 20% stacking until the start of their next turn. So, yeah. There's a lot of caveats there, but it's as long as they don't have full turn meter, if they get it, we get a little bit coming back at you. And if we lose turn meter, you're just going to give us hey, delay my turn as long as possible. You're just making it that much harder to kill me.
Yeah, exactly, because it's just going to stack.
Yep.
Oh man.
Unique 2, this is the standard Galactic Legend. Takes reduced damage from percent damage effects, can't be automatically killed. 10% max health protection per relic amplifier level, and the damage they receive is decreased by 30%. That's every one of them has that. So, and Jabba is the first Galactic Legend with a 3rd unique.
I know, this is I hope it's not a Zeta. Yeah. It doesn't say it's a Zeta.
Unique 3, large character. This character can't be used in the ally slot, and summons are prevented for allies. So we knew that was going to happen. That was going to be part of everything else. So we're not done.
I know. Oh man, we're almost there. We are almost there.
Yeah. So payout. So this is what Jabba gets when he fulfills the contract. Whenever Jabba receives rewards from a contract, he also gains the following payout. Jabba the Hutt gains 40% mastery, and all of his ultimate charge gains are doubled for the rest of the battle. So the 3% become 6%, the 6% become 12%. So again, with any bounty hunter based team or any contract based team, that get to the contract as fast as possible, and that'll start ramping everything up. We jump into the ultimate,
which looks so cool.
It just looks awesome. The ultimate grants an ability called There Will Be No Bargain. Jabba the Hutt gains 3% ultimate charge whenever an ally with my kind of scum starts their turn or uses a special ability, 6% under contract. If an ally with my kind of scum defeats an enemy or Jabba uses basic, he gains 6% ultimate, 12% ultimate under contract. Jabba the Hutt instantly defeats target enemy. Enemies defeated by this ability can't be revived. What a disappointing statement. It doesn't say Jabba pulls the Rancor out of the ground and actually eats your people. They die. Like that's what it needs to be.
Man.
Yeah. And this is, I think this is just as great. Bounty hunters, Hutts, smugglers all recover 100% health and protection, and Hutt cartel allies gain 50% turn meter.
Right.
So that's a mini like team revive at that point.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And then there are a couple of other caveats here. So if you're going to use the Rancor in a Galactic Legend, it will dispel all buffs, inflict armor shred until the end of the encounter, deal true damage to the target enemy, and stun other enemies for 1 turn, which can't be resisted. And then on raid bosses, we will deal true damage to target enemy equal to 30% of Jabba's max health 5 times, and stun all other enemies for 1 turn, which can't be resisted. I read someone else say this yesterday, that the reason why it's 30% 5 times is that will speed up Rancor heroic Rancor because he gets turn meter every time you hit him. So instead of giving it 150%, having it 150% damage, the trade-off is you're going to do 150% of Jabba's max health, but it's gonna increase the turn meter 5 times, due to the 5 times rank for that. So
Yeah.
There's a lot there.
Yeah. This alt is a lot.
And there's one other piece that I think is important to call out because it's not in Jabba's kit.
Okay.
If you're using BK as your tank,
okay,
and Ahsoka jumps him and gives him the Force leap, death leap, the death leap, because he is a Hutt cartel in the leader spot. When it rolls back to Jabba's turn, BK is going to revive himself, and he will be back on the ground, or he'll be back on the field.
Because that's in BK's kit.
Because it's in BK's kit. Like this is one of those where, and I get this is the sum is greater than the individual pieces. And like you look at BK kit and it's interesting, but there are a couple of clauses in there that very much felt like no, this is wait till it's all together. That to me that's one of the most important pieces here, because it's that Kenobi cat problem of how do I deal with Force leap.
Yeah,
this is how they're going to fix Force leap.
Yeah, because I mean, you go in against a Kenobi team on defense, the AI is going to have her Force leap him. Wow, that's a good point.
So that's Jabba. What are your thoughts?
It's a lot. I read it and I was like, this is definitely PvE oriented.
Yeah. Yep.
I think it's good. Like I'm not overwhelmed. I mean, I'm overwhelmed by the length of the kit, but I'm not overwhelmed by his kit itself. I don't think it's overpowered. Salvatore made a good point just now in chat that this ultimate is probably going to cause people to time out.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I can see that too. I didn't even think of that, honestly, but I could totally see that.
And on the ultimate, and I don't see it on here, but I know in one of the other posts they commented that you will, in theory, be able to use the Rancor more than once.
Yeah.
So there will be a cooldown. I didn't see it, and I don't. It's not in game because it's the granted ability. I don't think it's got the details there. So you'll be able to use it more than once. But yeah, so I don't know. Thermal detonators to me are weird because they make me very anxious. Because it's like, why haven't they gone off yet? Why haven't they gone off yet? Like when all of your damage is kind of based around this ticking time bomb that isn't doing what it's supposed to.
Yeah.
I have concerns about what this looks like in a PvP type motion. But yeah, with this territory, I'm now worried that territory battles are going to be a lot harder than what we thought they were going to be.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the thing is what we've been planning, and a lot of people are like, oh yeah, we'll go into it and whatever. I'm like, I genuinely think they've tuned it around Jabba.
Yeah.
And also around omicrons.
Yep.
Like I agree. You've got all of these omicrons in game now, and a lot of people have been ignoring them because people are like, oh, we don't need omicrons for territory battles. I think we're going to need them. Yeah,
I agree. And I'm, I dumped one on Finn just because when the new territory battle came out, because I'd burning a hole in my pocket as it was, but I'm worried that like the Rolo and the Finn won't stack up to what we're seeing with some of these other ones, and they're just not going to be what we need them to be from that side. So, it's there's I think that fifth spot is going to be some testing over the next couple of weeks for people trying to figure out kind of who falls into that. I also don't think we're done with this faction.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
And one, there's enough Hutt cartel and like I almost wonder if you're not going to be able to start maybe carving off like a light side version of this and a dark side and kind of splitting them up in a couple of different ways. But Bib Fortuna isn't in the game. I think he should be at some point, and we're going to see more bounty hunters. We're going to see more parts of the Hutt cartel and over time. So I think that, yeah, it looks like a fun kit. Um, even if he's the seventh best galactic legend,
Right.
he's still a galactic legend. It will still beat 50 some odd teams in the game.
I'm like, so this is the thing too, because I know a lot of people rank the Galactic Legends and,
Yep.
and like who's the best and all of this. I'm like, they all have different, like if you rank them in each game mode, they're all, it's different ranking every
Yeah.
time. So you could say he's going to be the seventh best Galactic Legend, but he's clearly, in my opinion, probably going to be the best one for
Yep.
TB. So, and maybe even raids, like.
And if you're a early to mid game, if you're just breaking into like light side territory battle, I guess it would be dark side territory battle. But if you're just starting to break into that, and he's a really interesting character because he's going to help with things like Sith raid to get you more rewards. He's going to help with territory battle throughout the entire. Even if you get him all the way back to Hoth, he's gonna do great work on that side as well. So I think he's going to be a good investment. It'll be interesting, now that they've got this large character concept in place, what kind of happens with that. And I don't know if we'll see anything else around those pieces, but yeah, I'm excited. So
Yeah, it's going to be good. And it's already in game.
it is.
Which is the other thing. Like, I was expecting it next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's probably one of the biggest things right now is only, out of the 3 marquees that he got, only one of them is farmable.
Yep.
So, if you are going for him, you had to buy the packs for Lando and Leia.
This is also, I think, another one of these, now that the arena isn't around anymore, does it matter that those characters aren't available and you're limiting who's going to have access, on day 1 or day 2? Because yes, it's going to have an impact on Grand Arena, but again, things tend to equal out in that case. This is not like if you don't have him tomorrow, you're not going to get your first place payout because you don't have him.
Right.
I do think I am a little disappointed that at least it wasn't that Lando's not farmable as well. But we'll see whether they accelerate the other two.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
But I think most people are kind of, at least what I'm reading and kind of folks that I've talked to, I think the target is people are aligning to, the goal is to have him by December.
Yeah.
I think that's how a lot of people are looking at it right now. So, and let's be honest, you and I are not running in the top 50. Let me say it differently. I am not your co-host that runs in the top 50.
Right.
Your other co-host is.
My other co-host runs in the top 50. Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
You and I, like this, and this is the other thing. And again, because you and I don't run in the top 50.
Yep.
Is he going to make a huge difference for us in terms of Grand Arena?
Yeah.
I truly don't think so.
Yeah. I'll have him in 4 or 5 days. I'm just bad at Grand Arena, so it won't really bother me.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think it's a fun kit. I think for the first time out of all the Galactic Legends, this very much, even I'll say even more so than Slicker, I think this is the first Galactic Legend that felt like they built a kit around a faction. Like they had a direction of what they were trying to achieve with this, and I think it's going to fit very nicely in kind of that bucket that they built. So
yeah, I agree with that. So it'll be fun to see. I definitely am hoping to have him by December. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the omicrons?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Because that's fun today. Okay, so we've got 2 of them, Cassian and Gamgard, and they're both territory battles. So this is interesting, I think. Cassian's is interesting. Okay, so basically when he is in territory battles, if all allies are Rogue One at the start of the battle, he takes a bonus turn, so similar to Watt, and disguises himself as an enemy character until the end of the battle. While disguised, he retains his unique ability and alignment, so he's still part of the Rogue One faction, and in addition, he gains his disguises, alignment, and faction. So at the start of each encounter, all Rebel allies gain defense up, potency up, and tenacity up for 3 turns. Whenever Cassian uses an ability, he gains 12% turn meter for each debuffed enemy. He inflicts ability block and buff immunity for 1 turn, and defense down and healing immunity for 2 turns on the target enemy. And K2SO is called to assist, dealing 97.8% more damage, which, fun fact, they got that percentage wrong.
Yeah.
I literally just watched Rogue One today. So in-game, if you actually look at this Omicron in-game, it tells you that for the Hoth territory battle, he will become a snow trooper, I believe.
Yep.
But in Geonosis, he becomes what?
That's interesting. And they said, all right, I know I've read this someplace, and maybe it was in-game. He gets the abilities of the person he turns into as well, doesn't he?
Yeah. So your Rogue One team theoretically will have the tech from Watt and the healing over time. I guess he's not going to be able to revive anyone because they're not separatist allies.
Correct. Yep.
But he would theoretically be able to pop the damage over time.
Yep. So, all right. So what happens with? Does this replace all of his existing abilities?
That's how I'm understanding it. So, yeah.
But okay, so it's only 12% for each debuffed enemy. Okay. So here's where I was trying to wrap my head around, because I always thought Cassian had a really cool kit where
he does.
Turn 1, he puts all the debuffs on somebody, or he spreads debuffs around to the entire team, and then on his next turn, he sucks all of the debuffs on the field out to 1 person with his attack. But if he's Watt, he debuffs the entire team, which now means he's getting all that turn meter for it. And he's still going to the 2 big ones that he had was ability block and buff immunity. He's still going to be handing those out. It's just going to be with abilities from Watt.
Yeah.
That's going to be.
And
we need somebody to bite the bullet and just put this thing on and see what happens. So
I know someone who's going to do it. So
okay.
I'm curious to see how it's going to work. But yeah, the other interesting thing is, so that in game it tells you which character he becomes. They're going to have to update that theoretically when the new territory battle comes out.
Yeah, so I played a game. Actually, I was playing it right before I started this. It was a game called Marvel Heroes Online, and it was kind of like a Diablo clone with Marvel characters. And one of the characters was Rogue in the game, and her kit was based around this idea that you would steal a power from other characters, and then you could build your power set based off of what you stole. And it was like super cool because you got to, like, every time you got to play, you got to do something different. Like that is kind of a little bit like this. Like, I think it's a really cool idea. I'm just thinking right now, okay, so do you put tank tech on KTSO,
right,
or K2SO, or do you put the damage tech on him? Because anytime that he attacks, he gets taunt.
Right.
And he's got a 97.6% chance of countering as well.
Right.
So now do you just have him just punching, through people's faces with that?
Right. And he's going to assist dealing more damage anyway whenever Cassian takes a turn.
Yeah, and Cassian's going to get a ton of turns.
And Cassian will still assist K2.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I think this is going to be fun. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think it's going to be fun, too.
Yeah. 12% turn meter gain for each debuffed enemy, to me, says that first wave, he's going to be getting 60-70% turn meter every time that he takes a turn.
Right. 12%. Yep.
And if all of those turns generate the buff for Admiral Raddus, so he should be able. Yeah. Somebody please bite the bullet, record it. Lightside Territory Battle's coming up in 2 weeks.
Please do it.
Get it out there for the rest of us. So.
Yeah, and this is the other thing. I was thinking about this, and Savitar just said it in chat. In the new territory battle, if you use him in the light side path versus the mixed path, which I don't know what you would do in the mixed path with him, because there's not a mixed rogue for one team. But anyway, would it be different enemies that he disguises himself as?
I don't know, because that was the way that I originally read it. It was like it was going to be randomly assigned, but then when they kind of went through and they're like, by the way, this is the specific character. My guess would be that they're going to they'll program who it is. Like if we're on planet A, it's going to be this. If it's on planet B, because that gets really complex. If all of a sudden he can be any one of 20 characters, and it kind of switches around through those things. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So that's his, and then Gamgard got one. Well, he got a little bit. He got a touch up on his second special.
Yep.
Punch through, which used to just deal damage and then expose the enemy for 2 turns. So now he actually dispels buffs, deals physical damage, and inflicts exposed for 2 turns if the ally in the leader slot is Hutt Cartel, which they will be, and the target enemy is inflicted with thermal detonators or damage over time, which they probably will be. Remove 20% turn meter from them. So decent on his
pretty good
special. And then his unique is the Zeta and Omicron. At the start of battle, he gains 10% max health for each other Hutt Cartel ally and a stack of My Kind of Scum. While he is active, enemies have negative 20% tenacity. If the ally in the leader slot is Jabba the Hutt, while he has defense up, he gains 50% crit avoidance. Whenever he loses taunt, he gains defense up for 2 turns. And whenever Jabba uses a special ability, if Gamgard is taunting, he recovers 20% health. If the ally in the leader slot is Hutt Cartel, whenever another Hutt Cartel ally falls below 70% health while Gamgard has defense up, he taunts and gains protection up of 100% for 2 turns.
Ooh.
So I mean, if you have Jabba in the leader slot, he's gonna get both of those, right?
And he gets an extra stack of My Kind of Scum.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, do I? Yeah. So My Kind of Scum. So he would be at 12 as well,
right?
Or he would be at 3 stacks, because he's getting a bonus plus the 2 that he should get.
Right.
For being Hutt, and actually no, because he's not a smuggler.
No, he's just Hutt Cartel, right?
So he would be the same as Mob Enforcer. He would be at 2.
Okay.
Because he's only, I think he's only, let me check that, but I think he's only single tagged on that.
I think so. But that's not even, so that's just his unique, and then the actual Omicron, when he's in territory battles, Gamgard has plus 50% crit avoidance, defense, and tenacity. Other Hutt Cartel allies have plus 50% max health and max protection, so they're gonna be thick.
Yep.
The first time each other Hutt Cartel ally falls below 50% health, they gain damage immunity for 1 turn. So they're already gaining damage immunity at the start of the encounter. Now they're going to get it again during the encounter, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. If the ally in the leader slot is Hutt Cartel and not Gamgard, so obviously, whenever they use an ability, Gamgard assists.
So they basically gave him a buff, a bunch of buffs, and then raise damage ability or immunity ability.
Yeah.
Because raises at 30%, but they get damage immunity. Like, and it's getting through that first wave of just kind of getting everything under control. So you've got turn meter, but that's going to be, yeah, like that's gonna be absolutely spot on there. That or on territory battles, that's gonna be great.
The only question I have about that, because it doesn't actually specify, is the first time each other ally falls below 50% health. Is that for the battle or for the encounter?
I would have to guess for the encounter, because that's the same way that raise works, is once in the encounter. Although the difference there is when raise expires, she heals them back up where it's done. So you've got to rely on something else. But I don't see that happening every wave. That would be
right. That would be way too much.
I mean, it'd be great. I mean, I'm all for it. Like, let's go there. But yeah, I'm not sure. That seems like a little much.
Oh man. Yeah. So that's those are the new omicrons. New TV omicrons. Which I personally am not surprised. I was surprised to see Gamguard, but I'm not surprised that the fact that we got two, that both of them were TB.
Yeah.
I also kind of assumed that one of his minions was going to have a TB omicron, because none of them do right now. So seems to make sense.
I am disappointed about this because, I said last week that if I was gonna burn an omicron if Jabba didn't need any.
Right. Okay.
And Jabba's kit came out, and I burned one, and I assumed like I had a couple of weeks to kind of rebuild the stock in advance. Like I spend in advance for things in the game. It's not fair that 7 days later they turn around and now I'm like, well, I wanted to drop a TB Omicron, but I wanted to do a new one now. I don't want to do one of the old broken ones. I want to do one of the new awesome ones.
You want to do one of the new ones?
Yeah.
So this Omicron, by the way, for Gamguard, I think also just really highlights what we were saying earlier, that his squad makeup in each game mode is going to be different. Because I think if you have this Omicron, Gamguard's your fifth.
Yep.
And then maybe not necessarily in the raid, he's your fifth, it's somebody else. But yeah.
And while we're talking about Omicrons, and there's some interesting ideas around those Omicrons on the other characters. So if you look at how his kit is lined up now, the squad has one in Territory Wars, one in Grand Arena, one in Territory Battle, and one in Raid.
Right. Yes.
So I think that's a little interesting. I think the big question right now is what happens in Grand Arena with Omni-Zam.
Right.
Because speeds them up, a bunch of extra damage. She gets detonators out. And remember, her basic, if there's detonators out, she just starts popping detonators down the line. So remove taunt.
Right.
Because Crumb pulls off taunt. And then she just starts popping them down the line and gets to contract that much faster. And I know that a lot of people will use Zam in Grand Arena with, Bosk and Grief to get the payout really quick. I've started using, and I think we're seeing, at least I'm seeing more and more of Bosk, Grief, and Fennec to take out Lord Vader. And I still think that works with the BAM Datacron. But Zam's not getting off my bench is part of my problem. Like some of the other teams, I can't get to work. So is Zam going to become like, is Zam going to start doing some weird things on that team in Grand Arena because of the speed and the offense up and all the other fun stuff?
Well, that's a good point, because I don't think there's no clauses really anywhere that you can't have two Omicrons on the team.
Nope. And there's nothing in Zam's kit that says if there's a Galactic Legend present, ignore, like in the Qui-Gon Jinn kit, that it's negated by a Galactic Legend being there.
And man, I'm trying to remember the exact wording of her Omicron. But
hers is based off of Bounty Hunter.
Right. But it's not a full Bounty Hunter squad that you need, right? It's just for each Bounty Hunter ally, maybe?
Yeah, and I guess Jabba's a Bounty Hunter is a Bounty Hunter as well, so So you'd be a full team of 5 bounty hunters. You'd get the full bonus
That's right, because
in that
his
example.
3 marquees have the bounty hunter tag too.
Yeah. Lando does Lando?
I think he
Lando
does.
doesn't.
He doesn't?
All right. I actually pulled them all up in advance because
I thought he did. Um,
all right, hang on. He is a light side Hutt scoundrel and smuggler. He is not a bounty hunter.
okay.
But still, that speed bonus with a Galactic Legend is going to be pretty sick.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's nothing in her Omicron that I can think of that would negate it from working here.
Yep.
Ooh, that is an interesting idea.
And then the other piece, and I'm trying to find it because I did the math on this the other day. So first of all, Mob Enforcer used to be a tank.
Yeah.
Before this update, correct?
Yeah, she did.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I remember looking at her and being like, what the actual F? Yeah, and I think now she's support or attacker or something.
So her base speed is 152. She's going to gain 40 speed. So she'll be at 192 plus another 30 with Jabba. So she'll be at 232. No, 222 before she gets a mod.
Right. Oh man.
You know.
Yikes.
She's gonna hit 390. She'll be a 390 speed character.
Yeah.
On that, if because again, people are probably going to kit that team out because it's going to be a Galactic Legend, so it's going to get good mods and everything else. But I mean, you could easily push that up, that high.
Man, I would love to see that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought that 2022 was the year that Mob Enforcer actually became relevant?
Right. It was bound to happen eventually. Who's next on the list that needs some dust shaken off?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So I think the only other thing that they threw at us today was this Datacron dusting. I don't know why they've called it dusting. It's dismantling.
Yeah.
Like this is just.
I'll have some things to say about that a little bit later.
So, okay, so this is probably actually really good that they clarified this because it wasn't clarified. And a lot of us were just assuming that because they're going down to 2 Datacron sets instead of 3, a lot of us were assuming that set 2 was going to dismantle into set 4 as well. And it was going to be this whole mix and whatever, it doesn't matter. So they've confirmed today that what will happen with set 2 is half of the materials will go into set 4 and half of them will go into set 3. So you can upgrade whatever set 3 still. And then set 3 will inevitably turn into set 5, including the materials that you got from set 2.
Yep.
So I really don't know how you could have done this other than having all of set 2 go into set 4, which would make set 4 insane. But I guess it's good that they told us. I don't know.
Well, the other option is set 2 goes into set 5.
Right.
And I think that would be mass chaos. So here's how I'm doing the math in my head. So half of 2 goes into 4, and a quarter of 2 goes into 5.
Right, because the other half will go into 3, and then that half will get halved again.
Get halved and go into 5. So we'll see some of that. We'll see some of it feed into 5. It'll give you a little bump. I was already kind of concerned about if 2 sets went into set 4. Ultimately, we're going to be at the point that we're going to have 2 sets active. No, we'll have 3 sets active eventually. But what that would mean is because of the the massive bump in resources into set 4,
Right.
that we were always going to have one superset and then
Right.
2 subsets.
Right. That's a
And
good point.
yeah, and I think this kind of fixes that. Now they're still going to have a problem with 2 supersets and one subpar set, because, well, no, because there will be a feeder into what will ultimately be the third active set 6.
Set 4
Yes.
will dismantle into set 6. Right? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
4 will go to 6. 5 will go to 7.
Mm-hmm. So we'll keep the 2, and theoretically, set 4 will have a set and a half dismantled into it, because all of set 1, half of set 2,
Mm-hmm.
and then set 5 would have a set and a half, because it would be all of set 3 and half of set 2. But I don't even know if it's going to actually feel, to be honest with you, like a set and a half into set 5, because you're taking that half from set 2, dismantling it to set 3, and then that is getting dismantled again into set 5. So I actually think set 5 will be smaller.
But I also think that people farmed a lot more, got a lot more resources in set 2 because they were chasing the 25% TMs.
Probably.
Like it to me, it felt like a lot of people went, one was like, oh, I'm never doing this, I don't want to be involved. Then it was, oh, here's this 27 or this 25% one that fit everywhere, and everyone got really excited, and it was like jumped in both feet and kind of went whole hog on it. And then the third ones came around, and I think you started seeing people peel back a little bit, and so I wonder if, and I bet CG has some of this data that shows, like, look, no, we actually saw a spike in available resources on that side. Where I'm getting confused, and maybe I need to draw this out, just not now. We will have, in the next 12 months, we will be back to 3 active Datacron sets at a time, correct?
No, we're sticking with 2.
It'll only be 2.
It'll only be 2. At least so far. That's what they're saying so far.
So, okay.
Theoretically, you should have,
I see.
This conquest was the first one of set 4 being farmable. The last... So this is actually how it's going to work. 3v3, the 3v3 Grand Arena season is the first season of a set being farmable. And then the 5v5 season is the second season of it being farmable.
Okay.
And then you go to 3v3. That means it's the first season of a set being farmable again, of the new one. And then once you get to the third 3v3, theoretically, that set should be gone, because it will have been 4 months. Because it's 2 months farming, 2 months of it being just existing.
Yep. But I would like to point out that this is a broken math problem, because there are 12 months in a year.
Yeah.
A cycle is there for 4 months, which means I should have 3 sets to it. I keep reading this as that's why I keep coming up with the idea of 3. And I'm sure any second now chat's going to tell me how dumb I am for that point. But yeah, because it's just, I'm always rolling one set into the next, one set into the next. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think it's going to be interesting what happens to set 5 though.
Yep.
So
yeah. I think what you can count on in set 5 mm-hmm. is Hutt Cartel. Mm-hmm. I think you can count on Bounty Hunter being a major part of it, mm-hmm. And probably Smugglers.
Yeah.
And while we're not talking about Conquest yet, hey folks, here's a little tip. Just get ahead of this. The next Conquest character is going to have a heavy focus on characters that are needed for job requirements.
Yeah, Hutt Cartel feats.
Yep.
I mean, it's already been data mined that we're going to have Hutt Cartel Galactic Challenges.
Yep.
And those tend to happen first before they go to Conquest. Yep. So we've got one more Conquest left, and then, yeah, Hutt Cartel feats. I can absolutely see that. The thing that I find interesting before we move on about this Datacron thing is the sets are now starting during 3v3.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like quasi playing with a set, and then you're like, oh, okay, 5v5's back now, and now I'll really play with it because 3v3 is fake.
And I much prefer that because, I mean, if you think about the way that it works is that you really only get, you don't even have a full set. You don't get the full payout in Conquest until the second week of the Grand Arena Championship. So if I'm going to lose time with my toys, it's going to be during garbage 3v3. It's the way that I look at it, you know? So yeah, let me figure some things out in 3v3, and then when 5v5 rolls around is kind of when I want to use the full piece. So
right. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So
yeah.
Okay. I think that's all of the news.
I mean, there really wasn't a lot going on this week. I mean, I'm surprised we even could come up with a show. That's the way that I look at it. So
yeah, they gave us a ton. And then so we kind of touched on the big topic of Jabba being live already. I'm surprised, but there it is.
Yeah. I think you said it today. This has been the most variation of a cadence that we've seen in a long time.
It is absolutely. I was so determined to prove that their cadence had been established from the first GLs that I went back to the forums and I found every single post that they made about Rey and Kylo, and excluding the teaser post that they did, because they did a teaser that they were coming, which was fair because it's the first new thing, which was in December of 2019, before the last movie came out. Excluding that, they have followed the exact same cadence where you get a set released, 2 weeks later you get the next set. Kylo and Rey were a little bit different because there was actually 4 sets that they released instead of doing it in 3. But after the 4th set, it was live a week later. All of the characters were farmable in-game. Even if they were farmable that day, they were technically farmable when the event started. And it was the same thing for Luke and Sith Empire, and it was the same thing, or Sith Eternal, same thing for Kenobi and Vader. And this one was just all over the place. Yeah. I was like, okay, we got a kit yesterday, so we'll see it in game in a week.
Yep.
No.
And nope, it was in, again, that was the least amount of fanfare for an event going active of this size that I've ever seen in a forum post.
Right? It wasn't even you can actually, I'll show/read.
Yeah.
In bold at the very top of the content update. With today's update, you may experience a slower time getting back into the game. The data lines just weren't thick or slick enough to handle Jabba's arrival. That is the only thing really that hints at the fact that his event is in game.
Every other time he is active now. Yeah. It is active today. It's active tomorrow. I was poking around because I had like 23 leftover token or tickets from the last Galactic Legend.
Okay, right.
So I was looking at the Galactic Legend piece, and I'm like, this looks like, or the Journey Guide. I'm like, this looks like I clicked the thing, and I'm like, and I hit, and it went right in, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So of course I immediately went and blew 20 spins on.
Oh no.
On a ticket node and lost all of them. So I lost 200 energy right there because again,
it's bugged.
It was kind of active, but you couldn't get tickets, which again, guys, come on.
Yeah.
But I know there's a lot of people that are hearing a lot of noise about people being frustrated that the characters aren't farmable. And I can't believe I'm going to say on Reddit, I actually saw a very well thought out post to this point, but and there was, again, someone pitchforks in hand. This is terrible. I can't believe that they did this. The characters aren't even available for farming. And one of the first comments was, and I wish I could tell you who did this, because this is not my thought process, and I think it's great. But it's like, if you were going to wail out on this character, you'd have already had them active going into the event.
Yeah.
So this is clearly not meant for you right now.
Mm-hmm.
And while these characters aren't available, this is the resources required to unlock Jabba are the most free to play or low spend friendly for anyone in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And the trade-off is the characters aren't available today. Kind of the point they're making is the trade-off is the characters aren't available today, but we're also not going to ask you for R9.
Right.
Or, which again, there's the places to get R9 are this very kind of side piece of that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's fair. I think, we saw some of the similar pieces. Profundity, there was a small gate there, but we're within 30 days, these characters are all going to start coming available, whether in shops or just being able to farm the resources.
Yeah.
And like we said earlier, I think plenty of time to get ready for territory battles, which is when you want to have him
exactly
to roll.
And that's the thing, right? Like, realistically, you can see based off his kit, he's going to shine in PvE.
Yep.
I honestly think he's going to shine in the new territory battle in that mixed zone, because you're going to want to have Leia and Skiff with him, and you can't do that in Darkside.
Yep.
So
agreed.
Yeah, you're going to be able to use him in Darkside if you get him right away, but I don't know how well he will necessarily shine there.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Okay. I think that's all I have to say about Jabba.
He's there. It's going to be. We should see some test videos in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We'll have more things to kind of share over the next couple of weeks with these things. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We touched on the dusting thing. I don't think we need to go into it again.
I do want to bring up something on the dusting.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. Dusting is not a thing. Okay. it is not. Dusting is a Marvel concept. It is not. That was Thanos. There is no Thanos in Star Wars. Let's keep this to Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, Meathead, the format change you made is great on the forums.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe a little less focus on trying to be funny and witty with these posts, and a little bit more focus on clearly articulating data of the points that need to be there. Like, yes, he slithered down my data pipes. That was, again, I get what you're trying to do there, but it was not clear that the event was live. Like, we've seen this in a number of different places over the past really few weeks. The whole August Burning Red, which, again, I get it's your favorite band, but understand that comment spins a bunch of people up, and then when no one actually goes through and actually confirms what that is, that's when you lead to disappointment in the community, because it's something that we wanted for a period of time. Like, you're a community manager. Words matter.
Mm-hmm.
Let's focus on the words that we're using.
Well, and so this is the thing that, like, Zareth and I were kind of talking about this last night, is it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, because we want communication from them.
Yep.
So we get it. But then when they don't communicate, or when they do communicate, we complain. But it's also like, there's a difference between communicating effectively and just spewing out information that isn't, or just spewing out words. Like, and there is a difference. Like, you can communicate effectively, or you can just talk nonsense.
Yeah.
And have the same amount of verbiage coming to your player base either way. And I think that's the thing for me that I am struggling with, because I'm all for, if you want to be funny and like whatever, and put your personality into it.
Yep.
But I think you also need to address things and be more on top of it in a way. Like, it seems like they are trying to communicate more because they know that we want them to communicate, but they're not communicating the things that we actually want.
Yeah. In like, I'm a firm, like, I'm much more interested in not necessarily what people say, but how they say it, and the impact there, and using, I'm going to pick on this dusting post, because this is one of these cases where I think you could have done both. Mm-hmm. You want to make the joke about, when your Datacrons dust, But then when you talk about the detail, you need to use the word dismantling because you've already established that the word dismantling is an action that's in place. And there was in Discord, I think it was Voxen, I'm not sure, but literal confusion of what is dusting in this process. Like I thought I understood everything about this. And that's where you want to make your dust comment, you want to make a snap sound when you do that. That's fine. Again, but when you go to articulate a point, you need to be very clear, again, especially when it comes to a community that is so hyper specific around kind of reading every little tiny, and to add on to that, when you've already established as a company, you stick little clues into things like August is going to be a very fun month, and it's it's the profundity in that piece.
Or what a profund question, like
or Crumb who likes to and we know that we're going to get one of these we're going to get one of his puzzles coming up, and it's so because of those pieces, the community tends to chase things in the wrong direction. So that's why when you need to communicate something as important as understanding like what's happening with the set to dismantle, use the proper words.
Yeah.
So that was just that bothered me today, and I get all your personality in, and I appreciate that, but let's make sure that we're getting the right information in front of people so that we don't get a community spiraling out of control.
Well, and I mean to that point too about Thanos snapping and dusting being in Marvel and all of that. If you've seen it and you know what happens, like dusting means it's gone.
Yeah.
Like, and the big thing with Datacrons that people didn't like from the very beginning is that they are temporary. Yeah. So now you're creating a little bit more of this panic there with just word choice. And Savitar, that's a great point. Words matter when you're translating these things into different languages. That's a phenomenal point because
I'm sorry. Can you explain that to me? Not everyone speaks English. I'm sorry, but no, I'm an American. Everyone speaks English. That's just the way that it works.
That's the way it works. But like that's such a good point. So, okay. Anyway,
right.
on that note, let's go to I Love You, I Know, because instead of being jaded, there's definitely a reason we're still playing this game after almost 7 years. So, Pico, you can start with what you are enjoying. Yeah.
I really enjoyed the changes they made to mods in the last update. In particular, I like 6-star plus resources being available. So I feel like I'm making a lot more progress. I like the mod calibration piece. Like, I actually find I spend a lot of time staring at mods now, trying to figure out what I'm going to do, and it's making me rethink that. And I'm hearing a lot of smart people say things like, "Well, no, just because you have 5 slices on speed doesn't mean you should stop there. If you've got one that's really bad, maybe you take a chance for it." So I think it's opened up a lot of different things. Now we'll see. I am not going to try and refine all of these very specific points, but I'm finding I have a lot better mods than I thought, and kind of looking at it from that side. But I really like that piece. I think it probably also helps that I got lucky with some really nice splices very early on, so that I got a couple of bumps from that side. But I think that's a great change. I'm surprised I'm enjoying it as much as I am right now.
Right. It's funny because I think we talked about this where I was saying like I kind of looked at my mods differently now since these changes. Yeah. Especially with the slicing coming in, or the calibrating with the reslicing, whatever you want to call it. Because I feel like now, I mean, beforehand I was like, okay, speed. But now I'm like, oh, I don't necessarily want to 6E this, because when I go to calibrate it, I'm not going to necessarily love what happens. So, yeah. Because that's one of the things, right, with this calibration where you're getting stats rolled that you don't want to have rolled, or they're worse than what they were. Yep. And so it's things like that where I'm just being a little bit more critical. The interface is nice.
Yeah.
The thing that I really like in your mod inventory, all of your mods that are not at level 50. So before, it would automatically sort them by rarity. So all your gold mods, all your purples, etc. And then whenever you got that big mod pull in from whatever event that happened, whatever assault battle, they would all just kind of disperse throughout your inventory and filter their way through that way. Now, any of your mods that are not at level 15 are automatically at the bottom, regardless of rarity. Yeah. So it's fantastic when you get this huge influx of mods. I just know to scroll straight to the bottom. All of my level 1 mods are there. I can sell all the gold mods that don't have speed. I can start upgrading them and selling them and tossing them aside. And then as you take them to 15, they pop up into the top. But I was like, that's perfect to put them all at the bottom. That's where you want to look.
So there are 3 changes I would like to see. And I will give them an order of likelihood of it happening. CG, allow me to edit the name of a filter that I've defined, because I can't tell you how many times I've gone through and I defined a filter and then forgot to check like sort by speed.
Right.
And then when you change it to sort by speed and then you try and save it with the same name, it tells you can't, so you have to delete it and then you have to so it's a minor thing. Let me make a modification to an existing. I think that's an easy one. The next is allow me a free text field to set a minimum value. So give me any % health mods over less than 7%, something to that effect. CG in their UI doesn't like to give us free text fields outside of search parameters, so that may not happen. In the third one, because I use this pretty heavily in hot utils, I want the ability to stack multiple in the UI sense. I want to be able to stack multiple filters into a single filter.
Yeah.
So like I want all green mods less than or greater than 5 speed, blue more than 10, purple more than 15, so I don't have to run through multiples. And that's a complex condition piece. And again, I know CG tends to err on the side of simplicity in their piece, which again I think makes sense because not everyone wants that level of detail, but I'd like to see that as well. But all in all, I'm really happy with that change, and I'm really happy with the pace that I get the recalibrate material. I think that comes at a pretty decent rate.
Right.
So
I mean, like, I feel like if it came in faster, you would just run out of mods to calibrate, right?
Yeah.
So
I agree.
It's not that bad. I personally am still really enjoying profundity. I have left my profundity in my fleet shard. Like, I was concerned that I should swap back and forth between profundity and executor just for the sake of falling. I have not fallen past 10, which I do have a relatively quiet fleet shard, but it is getting busier. But the funny thing is, I've already noticed a few times where I've gone to do my climb and someone's already attacking me. So I'll sit there and I'll wait, and you're like, great, I'm going to fall. And then they've obviously lost, like whoever's attacking me. So I'm like, okay, great. And I'll go in and I'm like, it's a 5-star profundity. So, and I'm beating Relic 9 executors without any problems with it.
Yep.
So now I was really set to like hoard my crystals for October 1st so I could, refresh and get it done. And now I'm kind of like, do I just refresh to get it to 6 stars? Like, I feel like I'm not being rushed to max him.
Yeah.
I mean, I should, because light side territory battles, so that's probably my answer. But I feel like there's no pressure to get profundity maxed because it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, even at 5 stars. Even with my pilots not at 6 dot mods.
I think that everything right now seems to be building towards this next TB date.
Yeah.
You need Jabba by then. You need the Inquisitors by then. You probably need Profundity 7-star by then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think people should be rushing it because it does well enough.
That's the thing, right? I'm like, well, it's working.
Yeah.
So, It's quite nice, and I'm happy that I don't have to swap it out. That's the one thing,
Yep.
because I would 100% forget to swap it if I had to, and I would plummet if that was the case.
I'm the only one in my shard with it, and I'm the exact same but different. I'm glad that I don't have to swap it out so that other people can climb around me because of that. Like, I don't fall very far. I actually did lose my whole thing of kill XP and then turn on auto. I actually lost one today. I think it was because I had the Razor Crest targeted instead of Houndstooth, and I think it just screwed up what happened. But I just appreciate that time I get back every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think I've only lost once against Executor, and it was just a weird, like, things just weren't, I wasn't getting a lot of assists. It was just a whole weird battle. But anyway, that is that. Do we want to go to Discord Corner? We can answer some questions, because there's a few today.
We got some. We actually got some.
So the first one that we kind of touched on already from Darth JJ was Cassian becomes Watt in territory battles, in dark side territory battles, not light side, sorry.
Yep.
That's probably a me problem. Does that mean he will have the text to give out to his squad? Light side, that's right. Yeah, because it's a light side squad. Wow, my brain is already getting confused. I'm going to say he will have the text. Like, I think so. That's part of Watt's kit. That's part of his abilities. So,
what I wonder is he going to get back-to-back first turns? So he gets an automatic first turn to turn into Watt, and then Watt's kit gives him the first turn to hand out the first tech. The first tech. That'll be interesting.
That's a good point. Because I'm kind of assuming that he would get to take his turn right away. Yeah. But does the turning into Watt take that up? Yeah.
Although I don't think the Watt in territory battles has the Zeta.
No.
I guess I haven't paid attention to that enough. That does he always go first, or is it?
I haven't paid attention enough to it either.
I mean, honestly, if Watt's in the wave, I'm just happy it's Watt, because that's typically an easy wave at that point. So yeah. I'm thinking he's gonna have it. So yep.
Okay, and then Vox and King was asking if Jabba will be a must whale.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I really think, again, it's. I think the goal for him is territory battles. Now, I am wailing on him. I mean, I'll freely admit, but it's what I do. But I don't see enough that I don't see him being dominant in PvP right now. That it's really going to matter, and the rest of kind of the PvE content, we, at least in our space, we have enough of that on lockdown that I don't think it's that required.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think you necessarily will need to get him right away.
Yep.
I would definitely say have him for the start of territory battles.
Yep, I agree.
Because that's going to be fun. Okay. Dar. This is a fun one. What lifter characters come next for the Galactic Legends, who obviously don't have lifter characters? This one's fun to me because I was thinking about this question and, like, just in general thinking about this topic last week. And I feel like Kylo's... I feel like it has to be Snoke. I don't know who else it would be. But the thing for me with this was, I'm like, who is it for Sith Eternal and Luke?
So, I don't think we're going to get one for Luke.
No?
I think, if anything, they're going to do a touch-up like they did with Vader to Jedi Knight Luke. Mm-hmm. That gives him a little bit more synergy with Jedi Master Luke, and those two just get married at that point. Because I know at one point there was kind of this belief that, Knight Luke was going to lead a team and Master Luke was going to lead a team.
Yeah.
That's just never happened. I mean, they're married at the hip in most game modes of where they sit. I think that they'll just do some like weird little twist that we didn't consider, that all of a sudden it makes, even if it's if they do the Jedi teaching ability between the two of them, like it gives them TM bumps.
Right.
With that, like I wonder, like even something like that, I wonder like what the impact of that would be. But I don't think Master Luke's going to get one, or at least if he does, it'll be last.
I just don't know who you do for his.
Yeah.
Like I really don't. Yeah, and then like even for Sith Eternal, I'm like, does he just get one of those support backpack tanks? Like that's his.
One of the weird knob turners in the background. I think I've heard people say what Admiral Pride, who was the captain of the First Empire or First Order ship that was out there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could do something like that. I don't think we're going to get a lifter unit for a while.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be. I think that's the thing, is a lot of people are speculating that the next Conquest character is going to be a lifter, and then like they're just going to cycle through lifters for everyone. I don't think that's going to be the case.
I don't think it's the case for a couple things. One, I don't think everybody needs them right now.
Yeah.
And I'm leaning more and more to the idea that people have kind of brought around, like Ben coming into the game was more to push people into getting Rey than it was to start this great lifter epiphany across everything. And so if they needed to bring out lifters, they're a full 12 months of conquest at this point.
Yeah.
If they're gonna run lifters, I don't think CG wants to tie themselves to something for the next 12 months with conquest, because conquest is either raised a character up or it's ushered in something kind of new to the game if you look at it over the past 12 months. And I don't see them wanting to be tied down for that entire period. So
I don't think that they can really justify doing it that way anyway, because like you said, how do you get these new strong characters and ships into the game?
Yeah. I do want to actually address something I just saw in chat. Darman, I 100% agree with you that yes, Lord Vader needs a lifter to go with his Datacron. I mean, it just needs one more thing to kind of push that thing up over the top. So 100% spot on.
Lovely.
Spot on.
Just what we need. Well, the other thing though, real quick, and then I swear we can move on to the next question, but I think in particular in relation to Jabba, his squad, it's almost like he has a lifter in each game mode because he's got the omicrons tied to him from
That's a great
from a
point.
different character. So I mean, obviously we haven't seen it in practice yet, but that's kind of what it looks like on paper to me and what I think it's going to feel like. So
that's a phenomenal point, and I'm gonna spin it back to the kind of the other comparative release. It also seems like there was a miss when it comes to the Inquisitors, that they could have done something very similar to that. Instead of putting them all in the leaders that are just wasted words in a kit, that they could have used that to kind of extend capability across the board. Again, we'll see what Reba does. Watch Reba
lift them.
have that was like it'll be the all leader abilities are like the one that we all thought was going to be on the Grand Inquisitor, that all their leaders are unlocked as part of that. Watch that be part of her kit, and then everyone just kind of throws up on themselves
Right.
out of anger. So
yeah. Okay, so last one, you can answer this because you found this, and I think this is fantastic. So Molpokey said, why does Jabba have his species in his name?
So I was actually gonna take a swing at this and to talk about George Lucas and his terrible writing, and it was going to be a complete opinion. But I just thought I thought I would go to the Googles real quick, and I found this on Wikipedia, so it has to be correct.
Right.
But Jabba the Hutt's name is not Jabba the Hutt. It is actually Jabba Desilgic Tiori. So he has a full real name. Now, why is he called Jabba the Hutt? Because George Lucas is a weak writer, and he was probably trying to pull ideas from mafia movies and all these things where it's Jimmy the Rat, Timmy the Fink, Johnny the Butcher. It's kind of this old style kind of mafia thing where there's always just like a name and there's a descriptive piece. It's typically tied to someone's racial background. We won't get into any of those options. Again, typically derogatory terms towards Irish people or Italian people. I think we all know what those are, but I think it's kind of this idea that it was Jabba the Hutt because he is a Hutt. He's Huttese is kind of the race. And it was just, it's, Jabba the descriptive word that was a part of it. But his name, yes, in game is Jabba the Hutt, but his actual name, if you were going to, his mother would not call him Jabba the Hutt. She would call him, Jabba de Silic Tiori, or however you pronounce it from that side. So, it was, but I was surprised. When I saw it, I immediately remembered I had seen that before. But yeah, it's so it is a fair question, but I would say his species is specified because in American gangster movies, that's just what we do sometimes.
And he's a gangster.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Do we want to look at the fleet meta report? I don't know how much it will have changed.
I don't think it will have changed in the past 2 weeks.
I think it'll change next month.
Yes.
So.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's skip that. We'll skip that. Okay.
Yep.
So, last but not least, let's head to Uncle Owen's moisture farm to talk about who and what we're currently farming in game, because everyone knows work comes before going to Tashi Station. Pico, what are you farming?
All right. So I'm going to use my very specific quote here. Collecting my banks, working on Jabba ranks. Now, there's a point to that.
Okay.
If you've ever heard of a band called A Tribe Called Quest, they were a early to mid 90s hip hop band. And there is a line by Phife Dawg that was collecting my banks, listening to Shabba Ranks, who was another artist back then. Every time I hear Jabba, I replace it with Shabba. So it's always just, that was what stuck in my head. But yes, Jabba is on my mind nonstop. 24/7, at least for the next 3 days. So
nonstop. Oh man.
Nonstop.
And then you got to do his ultimate.
Yeah. God, I took one look at that and I'm like, oh, I forgot how much I hate that.
Right? And you're like, oh,
it's
great.
Just, yeah.
Awesome.
Another one of these. Another one of these. Another one of these. So
I'm still working on Inquisitors because, good Lord, they are atrocious.
Yep.
Man, that is not fun. But so I'm still farming 3 of them. It's slowly getting there. I really hate not farming signal data so that I can farm. Like, it's a fast farm, I will say. Like, I just started farming Fifth Brother maybe a week and a half ago. Maybe 2 weeks, tops. And he's already almost 7-star. Yeah. So it is a fast farm. But, like, it's just so awful. The downside of all of this is I got so wrapped up in... We were in the ODB officer chat. And I was so wrapped up in my Inquisitors, and one of our territory war officers piped in. He's like, so, should we send out a reminder post about hoarding omicrons and gear for Ben, since we've got one more thing? And I was like, oh my God, I forgot about Ben. And then our guild leader hopped in, and he's like, oh yeah, I forgot. I'm like, yeah, so we should probably do a reminder post. So now my Inquisitors, while I'm farming their shards, I have paused actually putting gear on them so that I can hoard the gear for Ben. And then once I have his gear hoarded, I will carefully check to make sure I'm not pulling from it when I gear them. But man, it's just, I feel like it's even slower now because I'm like, I can't actually push these green plus signs that are just sitting here taunting me.
Do you want the kind of make it worse for you?
Yeah, just rip the Band-Aid off.
So the next Conquest character is going to be due in January.
I know.
We're gonna have that one ready to go by January. So for those that kind of background here is in Old Dirty Blasters, we ask that people have Conquest characters ready by the fourth month, correct? Fourth. So technically we have 4 months for it.
Yeah. But, I mean, so we say that just to give everyone wiggle room, but the majority of the guild, and I do say majority when I say that I mean majority, it's usually 45 plus people will get the Conquest character after the three months, and gear it, etc. Ben is a little bit different because there are a couple of stragglers in our guild who don't have Rey. They are still getting Ben. I've told them that, like, in my personal opinion, and this is for anyone, regardless of what guild you're in my personal opinion, if you can get the character unlocked, even in the first 6 months, so while they're still in the reward, even if you don't need it, so Ben Solo being the perfect example, that saves you so much hassle down the road with having to deal with shipments, proving grounds, all of this stuff. At least you have it and it's sitting on your roster. Whether you choose to invest gear in it is a whole other story, but you have it. So Ben will be, I guess it'll be mid-October once the rewards, finish. So yeah, mid-January will be the next one. Maybe it'll be a ship. And I can have a break.
That would be nice. Maybe it's that Bad Batch ship that we need.
Oh, man.
Yeah, actually, when now that you said that, I use between Hot Utils and then Sig's character tracker, gear tracker tool that he's got. I've been keeping Ben in that list.
Me too.
To track Relic 8 materials for Jabba, because that's the only character that I don't have any, but I haven't been. I need to add Jabba in there to make sure that, because I'm like, oh no, I'm good. Like I've got everything that I need. I need to actually get Jabba in there now to find out what happens when I add another character in to see what the oh man.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Once I have everything for Ben, I'm gonna add the Inquisitors.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna cry.
Just all the Kairos, all the My son's in the stage right now that he's constantly asking me to do things around the house for money because he wants to buy FIFA at the end of the month.
Okay.
It's getting to the point that I'm going to have to like start finding side jobs to buy those $5 Cairo packs that come out once a week. Because they're needed so much. It's hey, can I go take in your mail every day to my neighbor, like for 5 days in a week, just for an extra $5 so I can offset that cost.
Yeah, it's gonna be painful.
Yeah.
But it's fine. It's temporary, right?
Yeah.
For now, until I need to do Grand Inquisitor. Oh man, does he want Kairos too? I haven't even looked at his gear.
They all do.
Oh man. All right. Well, I think that's it.
It is.
Do you have any other fun Pico tidbits?
I will put this out there, and we'll drop something in Discord. But I think you and I are currently lining up to join Old Man Cantina's next Tuesday. Think we're gonna talk a little bit about Conquest there, and I think that'll be fun. If folks haven't had a chance to listen to them, they do a phenomenal show. Just kind of wanted to put a little plug in there because I think the plan is for us to join them next week, and we'll get a link into Discord about that. But that's about it. So
that's it. Oh, and I will say, on the topic of Discord, I did create a role for you. I know I've told you this, but I'll let everyone else know. So you can react to it in the rules post so that you can get the role if you want any updates from Pico when he's doing, because you've done this before. I know you've gone on their podcast before. So if you want to post links, or when you start streaming territory battles.
I think we just put that out in the world. So I guess that's going to have to happen now. So
yeah, then, that way we could keep the everyone tags to a minimum. And, yeah, if you want to follow along with that, you can just react and get that role there. So that's in there, and we'll be all set. I think that's it.
That's it.
Man, I'm tired. All right, that's it. So thank you, everyone, for joining us this week on the stream and listening on the podcast. That ought to do it. And until next time, Chewie, we're home. All right.